Welcome to the Fishbowl with everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is GC. We're doing our LSU men's and women's basketball preview show for this upcoming week here. And we're going to talk about the 0-3 start for LSU men's basketball. GC, how you think it's all going on for LSU men's basketball so far?
Currently a disaster, if you ask me. Let me pull their schedule up here. Let me get this good old schedule going. I mean, it started off for the most part, before conference play, which I always say is not necessarily a huge gauge on how the season's going to go because it's usually a bunch of BS teams, but they haven't had their easiest to start. I mean, games with Vandy, Missouri, and Ole Miss, but it ain't looking good because it ain't gonna get any better. I can tell you that based on what I'm looking at with their schedule right now. But
So,
we'll see what happens. I'm not too optimistic though.
LSU men, so they have struggled so far in conference play. What do they have to do to get back on track against Arkansas, GC?
Well, they need to do what the beginning of the season they were just shooting the ball well. I mean, they just look like a different team before conference play. That's really just what they need to go back to. But it's always harder once you hit conference play. I mean, just not so many mistakes. Not it just hasn't been very efficient basketball these last three games.
Well, so against the game against Ole Miss, they missed a lot of three pointers. They shot 31 times from beyond the arc. They shot more beyond the arc than they did on the floor in the 2 point paint area. They went 17 to 28. They shot good in the 2 point area. So the three pointer like they cost them the game there because Ole Miss, that's 6 points for them. They outgained the Tigers by 6 points there. So 71 to 65 would be the point differential there. And Ole Miss, like getting to the free throw line. If you watched our Raging Cajun episode, I did mention the free throw line being a very like some gimme points there. And the Tigers have shot less from that beyond shot less from the 3 point line than any other SEC team. Like did a 3 game span here. Vanderbilt outshot them from there, just getting opportunities. Missouri
That's one
outshot them
area
there.
that's got to get better. But
So LSU was 10 to 10 against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss was 14 out of 19. And I mean, they made all their free throws, but if you only get to the line for 10 attempts there, it's not going to be good for you. The Tigers did out rebound LSU. I mean, Ole Miss 11 of 8 there on all for second chance points. Missouri out rebounded them 11 to 8. Vanderbilt dominated the glass against LSU 17 to 5 in that game there. So they got to get more rebounding, turnover. It looks like they're kind of even. I mean, they kind of did. They fouled a little bit more against Ole Miss. Not too much, but like looking at like their non-conference schedule wasn't really that strong if you're looking at it that way. From yeah, because their non-conference RPI strength of schedule is 311, and their strength of schedule 161. Net ranking is 68 right now for the Tigers. They're 3-1 against quadrant two in the rank in the net, and they're 0-4 against quadrant one. So they have to pick up some wins somewhere. I think the Arkansas game is a really big game for them,
yeah,
but
because
their
they
next
got
two
that
games,
because they staring down the barrel of A&M, Alabama, and Auburn.
and yeah, like Auburn, Alabama, and A&M. So it's just going to get progressively tougher. Like, so if they could get on a run and win, like even if they win two of their next four, that's really going to help them out whenever it comes down to March Madness and stuff. And then you got Texas, which Texas isn't. I mean, they're not like normally like what Texas is. You got Georgia and Ole Miss right after that, kind of up there in the RPI too. Then on the back half of the schedule,
Look how they
basically, you got
close out the season, though.
Florida,
Gee,
Tennessee, yeah, 5, Florida, 6, Tennessee, 15, Mississippi State, number 8, Kentucky, and number 11, Texas A&M,
yeah.
which is all going to build up their RPI when we get down to it there. So, right now, they can get a couple of wins against Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Alabama. I think they'll be in pretty good shape whenever you get down to SEC tournament play, and you're jostling for position in the NCAA March Madness tournament. Which, if they can win like 2 or 3 of these ranked games coming up, I think they'll be in a really good spot to make the tournament.
Hmm.
Just depends on how everything else goes, though, because they got to beat Arkansas. Arkansas, I think, is almost a must win. One of those 2 games, because they got to win at least one of them.
Well, if we're being honest, I'm gonna give it away. I'm not. I'm not thinking they're gonna beat Arkansas or A&M or Alabama or Auburn. For
I
being
was
honest.
expecting more out of them against like Vanderbilt. I thought they were going to beat Vanderbilt, but they dropped that one. Missouri, they lost that one. But if I had to make predictions here, I say they lose. I mean, like they are you Mac McMahon? You think you think his seat's getting hot or what, Juicy?
Oh, I mean, if he's missing the NCAA tournament and don't even make, at least last year they made the NIT, but if this year they don't even do nothing. Yeah, his seat's gonna get pretty hot, especially since Kim Mulkey was able to make. Especially when you look at the women's side, how Kim Mulkey was able to make a instant impact on the women's basketball. You kind of expect that it shouldn't take that long to.
Yeah,
It's not impossible to turn around a basketball program.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I think.
And then with Kim Mulkey on the women's side, it's going to make his seat even hotter when they look at the when they look at the contrast of the two different programs.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic. I think they'll beat Arkansas. I think they'll lose to A&M. I think they'll lose to Alabama, and I think they'll lose to Auburn. So I'm gonna go with 1 out of 3 for their next 4 because I just don't think that they'll be in really good. I just don't see it with this team, man. They're getting out rebounded, and that's not good. That's not good for your down low play. What you think, Juicy?
4 straight losses is what I think.
Okay, you're not as optimistic as I am.
Nope.
Well, the women right now are playing. They're beating Vanderbilt 54-49 with 3:08 left to go here. I think they'll beat Vanderbilt. I mean they came off a win against Tennessee and against Vanderbilt tonight. Um, so Florida, South Carolina, and Texas A&M are your next 3 games here. Florida might be a little sneaky one to beat LSU actually because you got South Carolina waiting in the wings right there. So that is something we'll have to keep an eye on, but hopefully they don't get caught looking ahead there. LSU is undefeated so far this year at a perfect 18-0 record um spot here so far. So we'll see what happens here. But uh Juicy, besides South Carolina game, is there any other game that you think is a big tipping point for the LSU women in the whole entire month of January? And I mean you got Oklahoma there too, but what you thinking?
Oh, we talking about just for January?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because you got Florida,
I
South
mean,
Carolina,
Florida
Texas
is a
A&M.
little sneaky sometimes. Of course, you got South Carolina. Uh, I'm not really seeing it. Even until you get down to Texas in the middle of February, there's not really that many.
Well, you
I
got
mean,
Tennessee, Texas, Kentucky, and Alabama in February. That's definitely the tougher part of their slate, I would say for sure. But yeah, this team's gonna make the NCAA tournament. Their net's a 9. Their strength of schedule is a 49. Non-conference RPI is a 9. RPI is a 9. They had a pretty good non-conference schedule. The Tigers, the women, LSU women's did. So,
hmm
um, that's really helping them out right now. Well, actually, I think let me go check here because this thing's bouncing around a good bit. It's got Vanderbilt beating LSU right now. It's in the fourth quarter. I'm gonna go look and well, yeah, the thing must be way down, way off from the bottom right there. So how big of a how big you think this is, Juicy, for the Tigers to win these next like 3 or 4 games if they drop to Vanderbilt tonight? What you think that'd be a bad situation for them?
I don't think so. I mean, Vandy's women's basketball has been known to. I mean, they've been known to be sneaky, and they can be pretty good. Years past. I just don't think they're gonna lose to them. And then, but if they happen to, they definitely have to beat Florida. I could definitely probably still get away with losing to South Carolina, but they have to beat A&M, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Missouri before that Tennessee game for sure.
Yeah,
But
so this is telling me 9:43, but this one's definitely ahead. 8:33 left to go. 8:05 left to go in the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt's leading LSU 61-60 here. I don't think it's really going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things here. You do want them to stay undefeated going into the South Carolina game, but I mean, hey, it might be a little bit of a hangover from the Tennessee win on the road there. So, but yeah, I'm not feeling too bad if they drop this one here. It's a long season. At Florida, at South Carolina. That South Carolina's one that everybody's gonna be watching. So we will see what happens with that one there. So, um, let's see. Yeah, I think the Tigers are gonna be looking pretty good shape there. I, what's your prediction for the next four games, Juicy? I think they'll win against
the
Vanderbilt. I
one
think they'll win against Florida. I think they'll drop to South Carolina. I think they'll beat Texas A&M. I'm just basing on the past, 3-1. What you thinking, Juicy?
I was thinking the same thing, but I mean they could beat South Carolina. We never know, but I think they're gonna
Yeah,
drop it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they beat South Carolina either.
yeah. So,
It could
is
go
there
either
anything else
way. It's
we?
hard to predict.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to say before we get off the air here?
No, I mean I think that's
We kind of covered it pretty good there. If you want to look at SEC standings, we could talk about that real quick here. So let's talk about SEC standings here real quick. Um, if you're looking at it from, let's see here. Oh, that's football scores. I was wondering what that was. Men's basketball. Looking at the men's basketball here real quick. Tigers are gonna be at the bottom of it because they're 0-3 with the men. So I mean, it's not like I mean, it's still early. I mean, they have South Carolina, Texas, LSU, Arkansas, Oklahoma all tied with 0-3 here. So, and varying like overall record. So, I mean, that's going to help out the teams later on this season here. So, they're 3 games back of the lead. I don't think they're going to close the gap if they don't beat Arkansas. So, that's kind of where we're at with that there. And if you're looking at this, let's see if I can pull up the other sport here. It's not okay. About time. Women's basketball. So the standings with this one here, if you're looking at women's basketball here, LSU's gonna be near the top. They're undefeated. So, and you got a three-way tie for that. Kentucky, South Carolina, and LSU are all tied or undefeated here. South Carolina, Kentucky's ahead of LSU right now, due to them being 4-0. Tigers are 3-0 right now. Overall, South Carolina lost and Kentucky lost. So I mean, they both have one loss so far this year. So that's gonna be interesting to see what's going on there. So, um. Yeah, it's getting interesting here in women's basketball, that's for sure. Here in the SEC here, this is a very tightly wound race compared to the men, that's for sure. So that's something to see, and I'm looking forward to it here. Juicy, how do you think this is gonna end up closing out for both the men and the women?
the men at this point are probably gonna miss the whole tournament in IT. I think the women will end up getting a pretty relatively high seed in the tournament. Probably a top 2 or 3 seed like usual when it's all said and done in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's all about how it all shakes out here and how hot you get toward the end of the year here. So I think we're looking pretty good for whenever for the women. The men, like I'm kind of agreeing with you. I don't think they'll make the tournament here. If they can maybe snuff out a maybe an NIT run, maybe toward, but it's got to start now. You cannot wait. You got to start now and start playing better here. I know there's a lot of basketball to be played, but whenever you start 0-3 in the tournament, I mean, in the conference opener of your conference standings and stuff, it doesn't look too good for you there. So. But the women, if they can just keep doing what they're doing, I think they'll end up doing very well there. So thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of the Fishbowl Radio. I hope you have a great and wonderful day, and we'll see you here next time on the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.
Good night.